Okay, it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to call the Land Use Transportation Committee meeting to order. Let the record show that, who's not here? Member Klein, Chairman Solder, absent. Item 2, approval of May 3rd's minutes. Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, Wachinski. Approval of May 3rd, 2022 minutes. Any questions, concerns, additions, or deletions? Motion by Rogel, seconded by Bell. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carried, or minutes approved. On to the payment of bills, transfer funds. Any questions, comments on the bills submitted to be paid? Thompson, motion to pay the bills. Is there a second? Rogel, member Rogel, seconds that. All those in favor? Any opposed? Very good. Administration, are there any appearances for the public?
Vice Chairman Friedrich, there are not.
Very good. Okay, on to departmental matters. Jerry Stokes.
So the first item is the request approval of a bid letting we had for a Township Bridge project out in Anchor Township. Do you want to take a motion?
Yep. A motion to bring that before the committee. Motion by Rogel, seconded by Thompson.
So this is it's a TBP project where 80% of the funding comes from the state Township Bridge program, and then Anchor Township will pay 10%, and the county will pay 10%, and that covers the construction and all the preliminary and construction engineering that goes along with that. And so H.J. Epple out of Pontiac received the award on this one, or was the low bidder on this project. So they plan to start, I think, right away after it gets approved.
Have they done work with us before? This name's a little new.
So they do. They're doing a hot mix job for us right now up in Lexington, and they're actually doing the parking lot jobs here on the Government Center and at Metcom. They haven't done a box culvert like this in quite a few years for us. I think the last one actually was more of a drop box type of thing. So it was good to see them that put a bid in for this job.
How many total contractors submitted bids? Just curious.
Just two.
Just two.
Stark and Epple were the only ones.
Okay. Any other questions?
Where's it at? 1700 and what?
Yeah, so it's like 2 miles south of Anchor.
Yeah.
So it's Anchor Road is 3,700, 3,800. Yeah, it's just right off the road, right off our road as you're going north from Route 9 to Anchor, and so it's just yes, okay. Yeah, it's a 10x7 double box culvert, so mile south of that road.
Any other member Rogel?
I'm just curious. That's a pretty big difference in bids and even from the estimate. Do you think that's because of them having not done this kind of work before, or I mean, from Stark to Epple is 25% difference, and that seems in this day and age with how much everything costs, that seems like an awful lot of variance.
Yeah, Stark has a lot of work, and so I don't know if they actually would have had the manpower to get it done with all the other projects they have going. They're doing a project for us right now on Stringtown Road and a lot of the other state work and that type of thing. So, Apple's a lot smaller company as well, so their overhead's probably not as high, and it's closer probably to them than it is for Stark, getting the concrete there and different materials.
Yeah, I was just curious if it was, you call in like 4 different roofers to your house, and the guy who doesn't want to do the small roof is the one who gives you the highest bid because they don't want to do it, but they got called in to do the bid. So.
No, I mean they have to be pre-qualified to do this type of work with IDOT and everything. So and so they're qualified to do this, and they just we haven't really had a project this caliber, like I want to say a smaller box culvert like this in quite a few years. And so, especially up in that part of the county where it's closer to Epple, whereas a lot of the other bridges that we've done have been bigger, and so it's a little bit more out of Epple's league, I guess you could say.
Any other questions or comments? If not,
Yes.
oh.
You want to run
Member
this,
Bell.
okay? All right, thank you very much. This bridge is, how do you do the bids? Is everything done on the internet? Is it phone calls? I'm losing sight. I mean, we could have somebody come up here from Southern Illinois and do the job. But how many bids come in, and how wide of a net are you drawing to get people to come into to be competitive?
So a lot of times it depends on the funding. So with this, anything that has to do with motor fuel tax or township bridge funds or federal funds, so the motor fuel tax and township bridge has to go. We have to advertise it with IDOT, and they put it on their the IDOT bulletin that comes out every Thursday. And so all the contractors in the state can see that bulletin and bid on that accordingly. When we have federal funds, we have so the state has the lettings on certain projects for us with federal funds, and so then that's on the IDOT website, and so everybody, all the contractors in the state can see that as well. And so, but it's just it's hard to get materials. So if you're coming from Southern Illinois and you don't have the materials, you don't have the quarries, the aggregates, the hot mix, the concrete, you're going to be paying a premium to do that. So that's why we just have, there's just very few contractors around here that do this type of work. And so, the Rose, the Epples, the Starks, that's really the main ones that we get bids from.
And do you ever get any bids from minority companies?
Sure. I mean, I don't know. I think there's DBE requirements on the federal side, but I don't know exactly, who the minority companies are and who bids what.
And wouldn't you get a tax break if it's a minority company?
No, I don't believe so. I mean, this is public funds, so anybody can bid as long as they're pre-qualified. And that's the other caveat is they got to be pre-qualified in the certain categories like hot mix. Like Stark does, they don't do hot mix work, so they can't bid on a hot mix job. So it's just, they got to be pre-qualified in like concrete work, earthwork, hot mix, and the bid depending on what type of project it is.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Item 5A1A, take a motion to, okay, all right. All those in favor? Any opposed? All right, 5A1B. Jerry,
So you want to take a motion first?
motion to request approval, 5A1B. Thompson, second by Member Bell.
So this is a project that is on the IDOT letting for June 17th, and it's going to resurface Town Line Road from Tazewell County line to 122. And so it has federal funds in it, has TARP funds in it, and so we need to do this is a weight limit resolution to basically upgrade the road's going to be upgraded an 80,000-pound route all year round, and so this resolution, we have to have this as part of our agreement, part of our federal aid agreement with IDOT, and so this will get sent in and make it a Class 2 truck route down through there.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item C, Jerry. Bring it, item 5A1C. Anybody? Yeah, motion? Member Rogal, seconded by Thompson.
So this is part of the Bloomington Gold show that's coming back to Bloomington this year. So it's a good thing for the community. And they're wanting to do a parade on June 11th as part of the Bloomington Gold Corvette Show. And so they're going to use some of the county roads and go up around Lake Bloomington on the up around there on the road we just resurfaced a couple years ago. So I think this will be a nice event and be on some of the county roads going from Towanda to Lake Bloomington to Hudson, back down to Normal. So and so this is a new event. I think they're if the show is here in town, keeps here in town, it's probably going to be an annual event. And since this is the first special event request, we need to come through the committee for approval.
Any questions, comments? Member Rogel.
I just have a question. I don't know if you'd be the answer. What's the process for applying as far as how far out? Because, I mean, if we approve this, this is going to happen before the board as a whole meets, right?
Right. It doesn't actually need board approval.
Okay.
It just needs the committee level approval.
Okay.
And so.
Good question. Yeah. Any other Member Bell?
Yes, you do realize this is the same day of the Pulse massacre that happened at the gay nightclub. There will be all kinds of celebrations in Bloomington and Normal. Not necessarily a celebration, but a remembrance. And what's the traffic flow going to be like? And the time frame, how long will this take?
That's a good question. I think it's going to take a couple hours. They're starting it at 5:30 p.m. on June 11th, and it looks like it lasts in 1 hour. It's going to take, but and I don't know I think they're starting around ISU in Normal, I believe, and then going up Route 66 into Towanda, and then up around Lake Bloomington, and then coming back down to Normal.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. Motion to approve? No, already. All those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5A2, project summaries.
So the first one is the Brand 2 bridge out on Stringtown Road. And so this is the bridge that Stark Excavating is doing for us. And so they just finished up the pile yesterday. So you can kind of see this is Luke is actually out there with helping work on this pile yesterday. So this is a crane. These are the leads, and this is the hammer. I do got a little bit of a video. It's a little shady, but it'll work. But you can see, so this is the pile on the east side of the bridge. They finished. This is the pier pile, and then they're working on the abutment pile here. This is on the east side of the bridge, where they've already encased the pile in concrete here, and then they've also encased them here at the abutments, and so you can kind of see some of the rebar sticking up. And so then once they get all this done, they'll have steel beams delivered, and then they'll be spanned across these piers and abutments. So there's just kind of a picture of the leads going on the pile itself. And yeah, this may not work. Well, you'll get the sound, I guess, of this and see what. So we're out there. We count the number of blows and how much the hammer falls, and then count how many blows it takes it to go a foot so we mark out all the piles in foot increments, and so we count how fast or how far they go until we get bearings. So some of these on this were driven about 60 foot in the ground when it was all said and done. So some of the ones on the other side, I think on the east side of the road were around 90 foot. So they were before we hit anything solid. And it was really weird too, because on the outsides, they were on the like kind of where the road was at and everything. They were probably like 60 foot. On the outsides, it went down to 90. So it was weird. Usually they're all kind of consistent, and on that, because you can see like here, they're pretty consistent except for this one here. And they were also putting in like 40. They did 45 foot at one time, and then they had to put another 45 foot stick on them and splice that together, and then hammer that down, and then they cut them off where we need them to then to match the elevation of the bridge. So that's coming along. It's with everything. Go ahead.
Are those solid pipe or solid, or just like,
They're shell piles, so they're I don't know
Hollow.
how thick are those ones.
I think it's 1/2 inch steel shell, and then they're hollow. And then what they do is after they drive them, they fill them with concrete, and then there's an encasement can they put on the outside, which you can see on the far side of the picture there. Those have been encased with concrete, and then they'll have rebar sticking out for the actual pier that they'll build, the pier cap. And then once that's built, then they'll have the beams on top of there.
Any other questions?
Last time you were here, you said we have how many bridges that are in need of repair?
I don't know if I don't think I stated that. I just stated how many bridges we had, which was like 380.
Right.
And then we have 87 county bridges, but you know, we try to repair one a year, I guess, depending on the condition, and we try to, pick the worst one, at least on the county side. So, there's probably, I kind of keep a list of like 10 that need to be repaired over the next 10 years, basically, and just kind of, we go out and inspect these every 2 to 4 years, depending on the age of the bridge. And so we make our determination based on how critical the bridge is, what kind of condition it is, how much rebar is exposed, and how much traffic's going over it, and then how much it's going to cost, and the funding that's going to be required.
Okay. Do you mind sending me that list? And I would like to go out to some of those bridges, if you don't mind,
Sure,
that are actually being under construction.
sure.
And I would like to be able to inspect safely out there. And if anyone wants to go with me, I would appreciate it, because I think this is important. Our bridges are in disrepair, and I think it's a good idea that we know what we're spending money on.
Sure.
Okay?
I wouldn't
Thank
say
you.
they're in disrepair. I mean, they're still functioning fine. They ain't like they're going to fall down or anything like that. I mean, they're just there's issues with concrete deteriorating. Some of the decks are bad, things like that. But they're not in horrible shape, but they do need to be maintenance done or replaced as we have the funding to do so.
as someone who drives these bridges every day, because I live in the country, I work in the country, our bridges in this county are not in a state of disrepair. I mean, that is just absolute false information to say that. Do we have any that are load rated? And
I think we have one, but it's on a gravel road, so
that's my point.
right.
I mean, that's just going to a direction that is totally not accurate.
Right. Over the years, we've had a lot of issue with timber piles, bridges. We've replaced all those, so we don't have any other more timber pile bridges in the county. We have some that have timber abutments that we need to repair, and that's gonna be probably the next thing that's gonna be coming up in the next 10 to 15 years. But, yeah, as far as like county bridges, we are in really good shape. And even our township road bridges are in decent shape as well.
Okay,
Okay, what I'm getting at is that, excuse me,
no, go ahead.
what I'm getting at is that if this is in certain people's district and they get a complaint from people living in that district, how many complaints are coming in that they're having a problem with the bridge or they're seeing something happen over time? That's what I'm getting at. There are bridges in town here that I go over and I'm just scared of. But as a farmer.
That's the problem. The bridges in town are not jurisdiction of the county.
I understand,
Those
but
are
there's
totally
some
different,
bridges in
separate
town that I
situations,
go
so
over
you
and I
should
have
not
a problem.
combine the two.
All right?
I mean, that's just,
Well, you're driving farm equipment over and you can fill on farm equipment. I grew up on a farm and I know what it's like to drive equipment. And what I'm saying is that how many people are complaining about what's going on in their district and they're getting more attention than other bridges? That's all I'm saying.
again, you're talking about bridges in Bloomington and Normal proper. That's not our jurisdiction.
I understand that.
So, I mean, you need to talk to a different regulating body, because that's not our problem. I mean, you don't deal with the bridges in Bloomington Normal, do you?
We do not. We just
No.
deal with on the county roads and the township roads. And, you know, when we go out and rate the roads and or we're out inspecting the bridges, I really don't know whose district they're in. We take it as a whole, and whichever, you know, if one's worse than the other, that's the one that we need to repair. We don't really receive complaints about the bridges in disrepair. We might receive a complaint that there might be a maintenance issue or, you know, there might be a tile hole or something like that we have to go out and address. But, you know, that's just not how we operate.
All right, let's move forward. Meadows Road project.
So this is the $8 million project going from the Turkey Creek Bridge there to Route 24, and so there's really not. I had some pictures last month, and there's not really much change in that. They've got probably 2 miles of the ditch work completed. They are getting ready to put aggregate in the first mile. They've got some of the crossroads in and working on some tile work. So the project's moving along. I think it's going to be a lot better now. We've got some, you know, continuous dry days here, I think. So, but they're moving along on that project. The next project is the White Oak Road project, and that's going from Locust Street here in Bloomington out to the Danvers-Uton Road. And so we finished all of the patching on that. We've got some of the curb and gutter and sidewalk work completed. They actually started it today to mill the surface off of that. And so that'll probably take them the rest of the week. And I would say through the month of June, they'll be resurfaced, putting the 2 lifts of hot mix on that particular road. So kind of the way it sounds. So that project's moving along fairly well. And I think did I skip one? Yeah, the Meadows South. That project was a resurfacing project, part of the Bloom and Grove Wind Farm, and everything's completed on that except for the pavement and reflectors. And we just need to get the road painted, and then they'll get the reflectors in. A couple other projects that don't have the summaries here is so they started PJ Keller, which is from the Meadows Road going out 2.5 miles west of Lexington, and they started that project yesterday milling, and so they're going to continue milling today and probably start putting hot mix down next week or so. And so I think that's all we have going on right now, but that's quite a bit. So any questions?
No? Hearing none? All those in favor? What's that? Okay, in information, all right.
That's correct. Just moving on to Phil Dick then.
Very good. Bill Dick, land use, building zoning. Thank you, Jerry.
This is, excuse me, this is a regional planning service agreement that we annually have with the Regional Planning Commission. The Department of Building and Zoning funds, is a conduit that funds money to the Regional Planning Commission by the county. The Regional Planning Service Agreement is the same amount for the city of Bloomington and the town of Normal as it is for the county. So it's attached and goes according to their fiscal year, which starts July 1 and ends June 30th, 2023.
Questions or comments? Hearing none, I guess I didn't ask for a motion for that, to bring it to the table. Motion by Rogel, seconded by Thompson. Apologize. Now questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. You're done. Any other items to be brought before land use transportation? Administration has a question.
Actually, I have an action item, if I may. It's on the
Oh,
back side of your, on page 2.
okay. There you go. That's all right. Go ahead.
The dreaded double-sided page. I have a request to approve a resolution reappointing the county engineer. I can explain further after a motion.
Motion by Thompson, seconded by Bell. All those in favor? Any opposed? I've got a question. We just did that on the state side a month or two ago?
Yes, so the first step is for the county board to approve it, and then IDOT has a resolution and documents that they send back to us. And so this is approval to sign the IDOT resolution as they've described, laying out the next 6 years. So this is just the second half of the previous approval given. IDOT does things in their own way.
So this is for 6 years. We won't have to address this again for 6 years. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
That's correct.
Good. You're going to be here for 6 years, right,
Yes.
Mr.
I
Stokes?
plan on it.
We're locking him in.
Yeah, we're locking them down.
And just as a reminder, then the state then reimburses the county for 50% of the salary.
For how much?
I believe it's 50%.
50%.
Okay. Questions or comments? What's that? This is the only one that Ms. Taylor has. Yeah.
For a vote.
All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Any other business or communication? Go ahead.
I was just going to comment on the, been working down around the, whatever they're called, the one down by Bellflower, the
Oh.
wind
Sa-
project.
Sapphire Sky.
Yeah, Sapphire Sky. They're very busy, I will say. I know we had trouble with dust problems, the ones up around Lexington. I would just say that I think they're doing a good job of keeping the dust down. I've been out there in front of everybody's homes. They're out there with the water truck on a daily basis, and so it can be done, I guess is my point, if somebody really cares and tries. So the second comment is kind of a somber one. I think over the last month we've had two fatalities on highways in this county, both very tragic, and nothing more than let us all remember to be safe and try to look out for each other, because life is fragile, and certainly both instances were, just tragic. So with that in mind, let us all be careful and be safe. So thank you.
Yeah. I agree. That was just down the road from me, right down the road, right over the hill, and it was. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No other communications, anything else? Meeting adjourned.